Ladies and gentlemen, is this a legitimate bullish move, and are we on the cusp of Bitcoin breaking all-time highs, or is this a trap? That is the question we have to ask today as Bitcoin unexpectedly breaks 50,000 US dollars and reaches the highest price point we've seen in 2 years. It's a hard question to answer given the circumstances in the market right now, but we have to try our best. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the charts today, let's check out the VIP group on Telegram where you can trade altcoins with me 4 to 5 times a week and gain access to a 24-hour group chat with 120 VIP members. If you want to trade altcoins, that's the place you can do it. The BitGet and BingX exchanges are places where you can trade coins, buy and sell cryptocurrency, and keep it safer in comparison to most exchanges, at least historically speaking. These exchanges have never been hacked before. BingX is global non-KYC. BitGet is global KYC minus the USA. Check them out depending on your geographical location or what you want from an exchange. Both very low in trading fees. And my referral links are down below for extra discounts and rewards. And then finally, the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader 10-unit course will teach you everything you need to know about trading. You can check out all the information on the website as well as the email address to contact. Guys, without further ado, let's get into the content today. On this YouTube channel, we called the top on Bitcoin over here within 12 hours. Our first target was 38.5K. We reached 38.5K. I did say that lower targets were still valid into a weekly close above 43.8K. When we saw the weekly above 43.8K, those lower targets were off the table temporarily. But now I have been pointing to a macro trend, which does suggest and did suggest a BTC rejection from around this price region. That macro trend, in my opinion, is not invalidated quite yet. Although we do need to look at short-term price action and that macro trend, and then we'll come to a conclusion about what's going to happen next on Bitcoin. We'll come to a conclusion about whether Bitcoin is actually bullish or bearish. We'll come to a conclusion about whether this is a trap or not. All those conclusions will be made, but I need to run you through step by step what's actually occurred here. First and foremost, short-term charts, okay? We have to remember, guys, this green box on the screen here between 47 and 49K is a major resistance zone. It was a major resistance zone until we broke above it just yesterday. If we look at the volume profile, we'll bring it up right now. You can see a definitive spike on the volume profile around that price region, as well as a spike in the volume profile around 38.5K, which is our previous macro support zone. We are now building a base above 49K, but that base is not built yet, okay? This breakout above that level is certainly not confirmed by any means at this point. One daily candle close is not enough to confirm a adequate support above a major macro resistance level. I think right now this breakout is still speculative, still unconfirmed, but we did make some major bullish moves. We had some really good signs in this move upwards. Let me fix this line quickly. You can see we had actually a ascending bearish wedge formation, which is quite a bearish structure. In fact, one of the most bearish structures you can find in the cryptocurrency market or any financial market. We broke to the upside, which is quite funny because it was that major macro resistance as well. And so this to me is an indication that there is more going on in the Bitcoin charts than just TA right now. It's not very often you break ascending bearish wedges at macro resistance levels to the upside unless there is significant things going on behind the scenes, like for example, buying pressure coming from ETFs could be a relatively big deal. If we're looking at this chart here from US spot volume, we can see that around 10 to 15% of US trading volume, not US spot volume, but we can see around 10 to 15% of Bitcoin volume on spot is coming from ETFs, and pretty much all of that is buying. Very little amount of selling here. Now, 10%, 15%, it's not a huge amount, but it's a considerable amount considering like basically none of that is sell orders. It's all basically buy orders. And so that obviously has the potential to flip probabilities massively bullish. You know, if we've got a 70% chance of a breakdown from a bearish ascending wedge formation, and we have 10 to 15% of volume just bonus coming in as buy orders, you know, the probability of that breakdown is going to decrease quite rapidly. It's going to turn into a 50-50 type scenario. Because at the end of the day, guys, TA is probability reliant. And right now we do have external factors that are exacerbating these probabilities into obscene directions. But I don't think necessarily that's a reason to disregard TA entirely at all, actually, because we can see that even though the TA is being skewed bullish, like it has been, by the way, for basically since September 2023, being skewed bullish with massive moves to the upside with very little corrections. Even though the TA is being skewed bullish, it still is respecting the adequate levels. It still is respecting resistance, respecting support, respecting structures. The triangle did break to the wedge did break to the upside, but the wedge was respected in terms of support and resistance. We just need to understand now that there is external factors here. And it's quite frustrating, to be honest, as an analyst, because realistically, you want the TA to be as reliable as possible. That's what's going to make the market predictable. And without predictability, you don't really make money in the market. Whereas much money in the market, you can't really rely on short-term structures as much as you previously could. You need extra confirmation. But as of right now, what I really want to get into is whether this move is real or not, whether it's a trap or not. I said before, I don't think this is a confirmed breakout at this point. Okay, we do have many bullish signs. 2 separate descending RSI lines are broken to the upside. But it is very much worth noting as well that we need to look where Bitcoin is right now. Okay, Bitcoin is clamped between 49K as a speculative support zone. It's not really confirmed yet at this point. And 52 to 53K, which is our next actual resistance zone. Now, what have I said over and over again on this macro chart? Okay, let me briefly analyze it before I tell you what I've said. The macro chart on Bitcoin is very clear, right? The macro chart shows us a trend throughout the last 2 cycles and what's been respected in this cycle so far, even up until this point. As we break it above 49K, it's basically still respected. We have a horizontal yellow resistance line in every cycle that is built upon the dead cat bounce from the bear market in each cycle. We reject from that horizontal resistance line alongside a rejection from the horizontal line on the RSI at 67. And that rejection takes us into a significant pre-halving correction. And then it's only after the halving that we go up and break that yellow line. And then upon the break of that yellow line, within 2 months, we're at all-time highs, right? That's the trend. And that's an established trend. And although it's not crucial to the 4-year cycle, because the 4-year cycle is built up upon a date range analysis of highs and lows, it is an element of the 4-year cycle because it helps build up some of the micro trends that are fundamental to predicting the highs and the lows. So breaking this macro trend, which hasn't really happened yet in my opinion, will be a break of an element of the 4-year cycle that will lead to a higher probability of the 4-year cycle itself falling apart. Okay? That's what this is. And that's why it's important. Because as I've said before, and I'll say it again, we want predictability. Without predictability, we can't have profit. You cannot have profit without predictability. If you don't predict something, you don't click buy, you don't make money, right? So the price going up exponentially is actually not going to make you as much money as you being able to predict every single macro move up or down. That's the reality. Right now, and as I've said over and over again for days now, I've said that in order for Bitcoin to invalidate this macro trend, what we need to be seeing is a monthly candle close above this yellow level. Okay, a monthly candle close above 49K, right? Because that's where the recent high was. If we get a monthly candle close above 49K, this macro trend is invalidated, and that will be the first dent in the armor of the 4-year cycle, and that would be an indication that Bitcoin will be reaching all-time highs much sooner than we previously expected, because right now the 4-year cycle kind of dictates that Bitcoin will be reaching all-time highs around November to December this year. Again, breaking this horizontal line will actually indicate Bitcoin will be reaching all-time highs within the next 2 to 3 months, okay? So realistically, if we break out here, close a monthly candle above 49K, Bitcoin will be on the way to all-time highs. That's essentially what the charts are telling us right now. But obviously, 16 days into the monthly candle close, a lot of people don't want to wait 16 days to find out what's going on. That's fair enough. So here's what I'm going to propose to you. I'm going to propose to you that we either need to be seeing a breakout on a monthly candle close on above 49K to confirm an end to this trend, and hence Bitcoin all-time highs within the next couple of months, or we need to be seeing a breakout above 52 to 53K resistance, which is the nearest resistance zone above our recent speculative support zone at 48 to 49. Okay, so if either of these two things happen, if we see a monthly candle close above 49K, or if we see a breakout above 53K, Bitcoin, in my opinion, will be on the pathway to all-time highs within 2 to 3 months, right? Until that point, I'm not overly convinced in a breakout of this macro structure, and hence I'm not overly convinced in this Bitcoin move yet. All right. I understand this is frustrating for a lot of people, but I want to remain as true as I possibly can to the macro trends, because the macro trends are all we have fundamentally, right? I also am very much considering the fact that Bitcoin right now, although it is going well, and although this bullish move is undeniably bullish, it is going very well. We've made a higher high. The daily uptrend has continued at this point. We do need to understand as well that funding rates are pretty much all positive. If we look for altcoin funding rates across all exchanges right now, pretty much most of them are positive, which means people are too bullish right now. We could very well see a bullish flush out and a move downwards. Yes, it could be liquidation type move. It could not be a sustained move. We very well could see a healthy correction and continue to be upside. But right now, funding rates are overly positive. The chart has been in a vicious upwards trend from down here, realistically, 42K, been in an upwards trend for about 20% now. We're breaking above bearish structures left and right to the upside, which we're not really meant to be doing. I understand that a lot of this stuff is kind of unpredictable at this point. How are we meant to predict that a bearish wedge formation is not actually bearish? If we're trusting TA, we can't really do that. But at the end of the day, TA does have some precedent in reality, and we can't just disrespect it entirely. The reality is right now, Bitcoin is not really confirmed to have flipped the support zone yet. If we break 53K, that would be a clear sign that we have done so, because we would have broken above the next resistance zone above that support zone. But until that point, we are still virtually right on top with 2% of deviation, pretty much, or 4% of deviation on this 49K resistance line, which is basically indicating a macro rejection. We can't really invalidate a macro trend with moving 1,000 USD high to the upside above it. That's not worthy of invalidation, especially with no close. That could just be a wick. We've seen wicks before. We can see them again. Fact of the matter is right now, I'm looking for a monthly candle close above 49K or Bitcoin, or I'm looking for a break of 53K. If those things occur, I will concede that this Bitcoin macro trend is broken, and I will concede that Bitcoin will be reaching all-time highs within the next 2 to 3 months. Until that occurs, I'm not willing to concede that. I don't think the evidence is sufficient. Right now, what I see is funding rates being overly positive. I see Ethereum reaching pretty major resistance quite soon. All right, we can see resistance shown on the Ethereum chart right here on our recent top, coming right back up to test that resistance zone again. Will we hold it? Will we break it this time? Who knows? But right now, that is the situation. I'm seeing Bitcoin clamped between a fresh resistance and support zone with an unconfirmed retest of support. I'm not seeing this as a 100% confirmed breakout at this point in time. It's undeniable that the charts are leaning bullish right now. It really is undeniable. We've broken the high on Bitcoin. This is great. We've broken, if we go to the weekly chart, 43.9K. That's awesome. Right now, we have fresh weekly chart resistance of 52K. We are on the doorstep of that right now. Overall, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Bitcoin has moved in a way that I didn't expect it to move. Bitcoin has moved viciously to the upside. I wasn't expecting it to move that viciously to the upside. But I'm also going to remain logical and say that jumping on a bullish bandwagon at this point in time, in my opinion, is not the right move. I think that you need the extra degrees of confirmation given the massive importance of this zone on a macro trend basis. So, as I said right now, 49K monthly candle close or a break of 53K is what I'm looking for to flip bullish on breaking all-time highs in the next 2 months and potentially even before the halving. But until that point, I think this macro trend still does remain, although holes are being poked in it. With that said, I have never sold my macro Bitcoin bags since my original buys back down at 17 to 18K in November to December 2022. I've never sold my Bitcoin macro bags. I never suggested selling Bitcoin macro bags or advocated for selling of Bitcoin macro bags. But that doesn't mean that jumping into long positions right now is the move. I think it's a little bit complicated right now. To be quite honest with you, as an analyst right now, I don't have all the answers because I've seen TA patterns just be kind of invalidated left and right. I'm focusing more on macro at this point in time. I'm focusing mainly on this monthly chart here. If this macro trend is invalidated, we have to start focusing on other macro trends, and we have to hold them to a less degree of certainty than we previously had. Remember, guys, this will be the first dent in the armor of the macro trends for Bitcoin. Generally speaking, the 4-year cycle and its micro trends have been 100% infallible, right? This will be the first time that we've seen some aspect of 4-year cycle break. And if that occurs, that will be very, very, very big. We'd have to pay attention very closely to other scenarios on Bitcoin. So this is really the big chart I'm looking at right now, okay? Because if this goes, okay, we need to really start paying attention to other possibilities for Bitcoin outside of 4-year cycle. Not that the 4-year cycle will be invalidated fully if this happens, but it would be a dent in the armor, okay? And that would be cause for consideration of other scenarios. So, look, very hard time to be an analyst right now. There's a lot of analysts right now who are giving you, oh, it could do this and it could do that. I'm trying my best not to be that person because I understand it's not helpful. But it is difficult right now, unfortunately, so that's the scenario we're in. But guys, as I said, 49K monthly candle close or break of 53K will invalidate this macro trend, and then we'll have to go from there. Until that point, I think being too bullish is probably a mistake. I think there still is the chance lingering that this is a trap, so we'll have to watch out for it. Ladies and gentlemen, Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.